gilded expectations. The chandelier cast prismatic reflections across the ballroom as Ethan Blackwood adjusted his perfectly tailored tuxedo. At 32, he had mastered the art of the corporate smile, just enough warmth to seem approachable, enough reserve to command respect. Tonight marked the official announcement of his engagement to Camilla Huntington, culminating years of careful maneuvering by both families. "There you are," his father, Richard Blackwood, approached with 2 crystal tumblers. "One scotch before you make your rounds." 18 years, just like we drank when you graduated Harvard. The unspoken reminder hung between them, another milestone in the carefully charted course of Ethan's life. "Thanks, Dad." Ethan accepted the drink, surveying the room filled with New York's elite. The Blackwood global shipping empire had grown, from one vessel to an international fleet under his father's guidance. Now, with the Huntington merger through marriage, they would control ports across 3 continents. Across the room, Camilla chatted with potential investors, her posture perfect in a designer gown that probably cost more than most people's cars. Her dark hair was swept into an elegant updo, diamonds glittering at her throat, gift from Ethan's mother. She was beautiful, intelligent, and as pragmatic about their arrangement as he was, which is quite the catch, his father said, following his gaze. "The board is pleased. Her father is pleased. Your mother is ecstatic. Everyone wins." Everyone except the hollow feeling in Ethan's chest that had been growing for months. "She'll make an excellent partner," Ethan replied automatically. "Partner," his father chuckled. "Such a modern term. In my day, we called them wives," Ethan finished. His scotch? "I should join her." As he crossed the room, Camilla turned, her practiced smile warming fractionally. They'd known each other since childhood, running in the same exclusive circles. Their first date had been arranged by their mothers at a charity gala. Their compatibility had been assessed not by chemistry but by spreadsheets of assets and family connections. "There is my handsome fiancé," she said, brushing a kiss against his cheek. Her perfume was expensive and subtle. Mr. Reynolds was just discussing the Singapore expansion. Ethan nodded, falling easily into business talk. This was comfortable. Territory profit margins and market projections, not the awkward silence that filled their private moments when the scripts ran out. Later that night, after speeches and champagne toasts, they stood on the balcony of the penthouse venue. "Are you happy, Ethan?" Camilla asked suddenly, surprising him. He hesitated. "Happy? I'm satisfied with our arrangement," seeming neither disappointed nor pleased. "As am I. We'll be good together, practical, efficient, like a business. Merger," he thought, "not a marriage." "The wedding planner has 3 dates for us to consider," she continued. "On June. Mother thinks the Vanderbilt estate would be perfect. They owe Dad a favor." Ethan nodded, imagining the next 40 years of his life mapped out with similar precision. Board meetings, charity galas, perfectly timed children sent to the right schools, success by every measurable metric. "I need to go to Portland next week," he said abruptly. "The shipyard acquisition." "Of course." Camilla's expression didn't change. "I have the benefit for the museum anyway. We're more effective dividing and conquering." As they rejoined the party, Ethan felt the weight of expectations press down on him. Portland, Maine would be a brief respite from the spotlight. Just business, just ships and contracts. Simple, uncomplicated. He had no way of knowing that decision would change everything. Chance encountered the coastal air of Portland. Maine carried a brisk clarity that Manhattan lacked. Ethan breathed deeply as he walked along the harbor, having escaped his hotel room after a day of tense negotiations. The shipyard acquisition was proving more complicated than anticipated. Local opposition had organized against Blackwood, Global's reputation for prioritizing efficiency over environmental concerns. He paused at a small gathering near the waterfront. A woman with auburn hair pulled into a messy bun stood on a makeshift platform, speaking with passionate intensity to the crowd. "These corporations see our harbor as nothing but a transaction," she declared, gesturing toward the water. "But this isn't just about jobs or profits. It's about our ecosystem, our health, our future." Ethan moved closer, intrigued despite himself. The woman wasn't polished like the activists he occasionally encountered at charity events. Her jeans were worn, her flannel shirt practical rather than fashionable, but she commanded attention with genuine conviction. What Blackwood Global isn't telling you is that their environmental impact reports have been contested in 3 other port cities, she continued, making Ethan wince. My firm has filed for an injunction requiring a full independent assessment before any acquisition can proceed. After the crowd dispersed, Ethan found himself approaching her as she gathered her materials. That was quite the speech, he said. She looked up, narrowing eyes the color of sea glass. Thanks. Are you local? Just visiting? He extended his hand. I'm Ethan. It's Jocelyn Reed, she replied, her handshake firm. Environmental counsel for Save Our Shores? The lawyer behind the injunction, he observed, her expression sharpened. You're with Blackwood. Guilty. He offered a self-deprecating smile that usually charmed business associates. Got it. It didn't work on her. Let me guess you're here to convince me how your company's track record of contaminating water systems and exploiting worker safety loopholes is actually good for our community. She crossed her arms. Actually, I was going to ask if you know where I could get decent coffee around here, Ethan replied, surprising himself with his honesty. But I'd be interested to hear more about those accusations. Jocelyn studied him. Suspiciously Harbor Brew, 2 blocks that way. They source ethically, unlike your company. I'll buy you a cup, he offered impulsively. Professional courtesy? You can tell me everything we're doing wrong? To his surprise, after a moment. Hesitation? She nodded. Fine, but I'm not changing my position. At the cafe, Jocelyn laid out her case without corporate doublespeak or manipulation, just facts. Passion and a startling depth of knowledge about Blackwood's operations. The problem isn't just your company, she explained, warming to her. Subject. It's the entire approach. You see communities as resources to extract value from, not places where people live and depend on healthy ecosystems. Our environmental compliance meets minimum standards, she finished. That's like bragging that you only steal a little. Despite himself, Ethan laughed. No one in his world spoke to him this way. What would you suggest instead? He asked, genuinely curious. Their conversation stretched from minutes to hours. Jocelyn's perspective challenged everything he'd accepted as business necessity. More surprising was how she listened when he explained the complexities of global shipping logistics, asking insightful questions without dismissing his expertise. As evening approached, they walked along the harbor again. I should get back, Ethan said reluctantly. Early meeting tomorrow, with the board overseeing the acquisition, Jocelyn asked. That's the one. She stopped walking. Will you at least consider what I've said? This community deserves better than being another statistic in your quarterly report. The sunset illuminated her face, highlighting a small scar above her eyebrow and the intensity in her eyes. Something shifted in Ethan's perception, seeing her not as an obstacle to business, but as someone fighting for something meaningful. Do more than consider it, he promised. I'd like to show you some revised proposals. Maybe tomorrow? Jocelyn's surprise melted into cautious interest, trying to convert the opposition. Or learning from it, he replied honestly. What began as professional curiosity evolved over the next 5 days. They debated corporate responsibility over breakfast, walked the coastline discussing sustainable practices, and eventually shared personal stories over dinner. Ethan found himself revealing frustrations he'd never acknowledged about the emptiness of his gilded life. Why stay if you're so unfulfilled? Jocelyn asked one evening, the harbor lights reflecting in her eyes. It's complicated, he answered, thinking of Camilla, his father. Generations of expectations. Life usually is, she replied. But complexity isn't the same as impossibility. When his phone buzzed with Camilla's name, Ethan silenced it, realizing, with growing discomfort, that for the first time in his life, he was exactly where he wanted to be. 2 worlds, the Blackwood penthouse felt suffocating after Portland's open skies. Ethan loosened his tie, staring at Manhattan's skyline through floor 2 ceiling windows that suddenly seemed like a beautiful prison. 2 weeks had passed since his return. Yet his thoughts remained anchored to coastal Maine and conversations with Jocelyn that had awakened something dormant within him. The Singapore investors need reassurance, Richard Blackwood was saying, pacing the living room. Revised proposal for Portland has them concerned about our commitment to maximizing returns. The revised plan is better, Ethan countered. Environmentally sound practices actually reduce long-term costs. Jocelyn Ms. Reed showed me data from the activist lawyer. His father's expression hardened. You're quoting the woman trying. To block our acquisition? She's not just an activist. Her research is solid. If we implemented even half her suggestions, this isn't like you, Ethan. Richard studied his son with calculating eyes. First the proposal changes, now you're defending the opposition. What happened in Portland? Everything, Ethan thought. Saw opportunities we've been missing. Sustainable practices can be profitable. If sustainability is a marketing term we use in press releases, Richard interrupted, reality is about shareholder value. Your wedding is in 4 months. The Huntington merger depends on it. Focus on what matters. After his father left, Ethan pulled out his phone, scrolling to Jocelyn's contact. They'd exchanged numbers professionally, yet their messages had gradually evolved. Her latest text a photo of a successful beach cleanup her organization had conducted made him smile in a way the Blackwood Quarterly Profit Report never could. He typed, "Just presented your ideas." Mixed reception. Still fighting. Her response came quickly. Fighting for what matters is always worth it. How's the wedding? Planning. His fingers hovered over the screen. He'd mentioned his engagement briefly clinically. Now the reminder stung like an accusation. Proceeding, he finally replied. The word as empty as he felt. Later that week, during a dinner with Camilla and both sets of parents to discuss wedding details, Ethan found himself increasingly distant. The flowers should complement the Huntington colors, Camilla's mother was saying. And we've secured Governor Whitman for the guest list. Ethan suggested the Portland shipyard for our Tokyo expansion, his father interjected, watching him carefully. Rather than Singapore, Camilla turned to him, perfectly sculpted eyebrows rising slightly. Portland, a little fishing town, you? Visited. It has potential, Ethan replied, meeting his father's challenging gaze. Sustainable potential. That night, as they returned to Camilla's apartment, she confronted him. You've been different since Maine. Distracted. I've been rethinking some priorities, he admitted. For months before our wedding seems like an inconvenient time for an existential crisis, she observed. Her tone more analytical than hurt. Ethan studied her beautiful, accomplished, and as trapped in this predetermined life as he was. Are we making a mistake, Camilla? Getting married? To his surprise, she didn't immediately dismiss the question. Instead, she removed her earrings methodically, considering, our families expect this union. The merger benefits everyone. We're compatible. She paused. Passion fades, Ethan. Practicality endures. Is that enough? Pressed. It's what people like us do, she answered simply. We fulfill our obligations. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Found himself on his balcony at 3 a.m., calling Jocelyn before he could reconsider. Ethan, her voice was husky with sleep. Something wrong? Everything, he admitted. I can't stop thinking about what you said about living authentically, about fighting for what matters. This isn't just about environmental policies anymore, is it? She asked perceptively. No, he confessed. I think it's about me. The silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken possibilities. I have a conference in New York next week, she finally said. Environmental Law Association. His heart raced. I'd like to see you. As colleagues, she challenged. Whatever we are, he answered honestly. I just know I need to see you again. Breaking Point, the hotel bar, was deliberately neutral territory, either Ethan's world nor Jocelyn's. She wore a simple black dress, her usual practical style adapted for the conference. While he had come straight from the office in a suit that suddenly felt like a costume. You look different here, she observed, stirring her drink. More guarded. This is where I always am, he replied. Portland was the exception. 3 hours disappeared in conversation that flowed from environmental law to childhood memories. 2 dreams neither had voiced aloud before. When their hands brushed accidentally, neither pulled away. I should tell you something, Jocelyn said eventually. I've been offered a position with the Environmental Defense Coalition in Washington. It would mean leading cases against companies like yours nationally. Should take it, Ethan said immediately. You'd be extraordinary. She studied him. Even though it would put us on opposite sides, aren't we already? He asked softly, the weight of his engagement ring in his pocket heavy as stone. Her eyes held his. Are we, Ethan? Because I'm not sure where you stand anymore? The question haunted him through 3 sleepless nights. On the 4th morning, he walked into his father's office unannounced. We need to talk about the Portland acquisition, about the wedding. Richard looked up sharply. They're not related topics. They're to me, Ethan insisted. I won't proceed with either unless changes are made. What followed was the most brutal confrontation of his life. His father's cold fury escalated as Ethan laid out his terms. Environmental protections for Portland that exceeded requirements. Commitment to worker safety programs, and postponement of the wedding until he could resolve his growing doubts. This is about that lawyer, Richard accused. She's manipulating you. This is about me finally thinking for myself, Ethan countered. Jocelyn simply asked questions I should have been asking all along. Your grandfather built this company from nothing, Richard hissed. I expanded it globally. And you'll throw away generations of work for a woman you barely know? I'm not throwing away anything, Ethan maintained. I'm trying to build something better, something I can be proud of. If you derail this merger, you're finished at Blackwood, his father threatened. The board won't support you. Camilla's family will withdraw. You'll lose everything. The ultimatum hung between them like a gauntlet thrown, and I guess I need to decide what everything really means. Ethan replied quietly. That evening, he met Camilla at the restaurant where they'd had their first arranged date 3 years earlier. Her expression told him she already knew. My father called, she confirmed. Quite colorful language about loyalty and obligations. I'm sorry, Ethan said sincerely. You deserve better than this. To his surprise, Camilla smiled faintly. You know something, Ethan? In 3 years, that might be the most honest thing you've ever said to me. I never meant to hurt you. You haven't? She replied, removing her engagement ring and placing it carefully on the table. This arrangement was never about love. Perhaps that was our first mistake. You're not angry? He asked, confused by her calm, disappointed professionally. Perhaps, but personally. She shrugged elegantly. I've been seeing someone else for months, one who makes me feel something. I just never had the courage to break our agreement. Ethan stared at her, then began to laugh, genuine liberating sound. We've been so busy fulfilling expectations that we forgot to live. It's better to realize at 32 than 62, Camilla observed, raising her wine glass. 2 authentic paths? He clinked his glass against hers. 2 authentic paths? Later that night, he called Jocelyn. I ended my engagement. And potentially my career. Her sharp intake of breath carried. Through the phone, Ethan, I never meant for you to. You didn't do anything except show me what it looks like to live with conviction, he interrupted. The rest was my choice. What will you do now? She asked. I don't know, he admitted. For the first time in my life, I don't have a prescribed next step. It's terrifying and exhilarating.
Oh.
I'm returning to Portland tomorrow, she said after a pause. Before the Washington job starts, I need to close some cases. Would it complicate things if I came too? He asked. Not to pressure you? No. Just to figure out who I am outside of Blackwood Global. Her soft laugh warmed him from within. Everything about you complicates things, Ethan. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. Authentic Paths, the small cottage Ethan rented, overlooked the same harbor where he'd first heard Jocelyn speak. 6 months had transformed everything this season. The community's relationship with Blackwood Global, and most fundamentally himself. His father had made good on his threat. Ethan had been removed from the board, his position filled by a cousin eager to uphold tradition. The Portland acquisition had proceeded without his involvement, though public pressure had forced concessions, similar to what he'd proposed. The wedding announcement had been retracted with a terse statement about differing priorities. Yet instead of devastation, Ethan found liberation. The cottage's simple wooden desk was covered with plans for what he called Blackwood Restoration, a consulting firm helping shipping companies implement sustainable practices without sacrificing profitability. His first-hand knowledge of the industry's inner workings gave him unique insight into where change was possible. His phone chimed with a message from Jocelyn. Court victory. Injunction granted against Fraser Shipping. Celebratory dinner? Despite her position in Washington, she returned to Portland frequently, maintaining connections with the community while building her national reputation. Their relationship had evolved deliberately, carefully neither rushing nor denying the connection that had catalyzed such profound changes as. Ethan prepared dinner on the small porch overlooking the water. He reflected on the irony. He had lost his predetermined future, but found purpose. Lost family approval, but gained self-respect. The path was uncertain now, but undeniably his own. Jocelyn arrived as sunset painted the harbor gold. Her professional armor, the tailored blazer, and formal demeanor softened as she kicked off her shoes and accepted the glass of wine he offered. To victory, he toasted. Fraser Shipping won't know what hit them. It would if they'd paid attention to what happened with Blackwood, she remarked. Your father's actually implemented some of your proposals since the acquisition. Reluctantly, but still. Progress comes in strange ways, Ethan acknowledged. Speaking of which... A call from Henderson Marine. They're interested in the sustainability framework I developed. Jocelyn's smile was genuine. That's fantastic. They have 15 ports across the East Coast. It won't make me a billionaire, he noted wryly. Just someone who helps change an industry, she countered, while still being able to look at himself in the mirror. After dinner, they walked along the shore, the conversation turning to Washington, his consulting work, and the delicate balance of their bicoastal relationship. I've been offered office space in D.C., Ethan mentioned casually. Henderson has. Headquarters there, it would make sense professionally. Jocelyn stopped walking, turning to face him, and personally, he said, taking her hand, I've learned that the right connection is worth rearranging your life for. That sounds suspiciously like a relationship escalation, she teased, though her eyes were serious. It's been 6 months. He acknowledged, we've been careful. Deliberate. After your whirlwind engagement and lifetime of expectations, I thought you needed space to figure out who Ethan is outside of Blackwood, she explained. I appreciate that, he said sincerely. But I know who I am now. Someone who wants to build something meaningful with my work and with you. The breeze carried the scent of salt and possibility as Jocelyn considered him. No prescribed path this time, she warned. No mergers or arrangements or perfectly coordinated futures. Just 2 people choosing each other every day, he agreed. Figuring it out as we go. It sounds terrifyingly imprecise, she observed, stepping closer. It does, he conceded, brushing a strand of auburn hair from her face. Also authentic. As the harbor lights began to illuminate the gathering dusk, Ethan realized that for all his family's wealth and power, they had missed the most valuable lesson, that a life constructed solely of advantageous arrangements was no life at all. Real wealth lay in the courage to pursue authenticity in business, in purpose, in love. Jocelyn's hand remained in his as they walked back toward the cottage. Their path uncharted but chosen, imperfect but true. I have everything I need, Ethan realized, saying the words aloud without intending to. Jocelyn squeezed his hand. Funny how that happens when you stop chasing what everyone else thinks you should want. Against the backdrop of the ocean that had witnessed their beginning, they continued walking not toward any prescribed destination, but simply forward, together.